This is the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show, sponsored by your North Texas Chevy dealers. Together, let's drive.
One of the great weekends in all of sports, at least for my money. I know for you, it's.
No, hang on. We're gonna get into this, okay? He does this all the time. He picks topics early and tries to twist it. Again, we'll touch on this in a little bit. I love this weekend. I think it's great having a lot of sports on TV. Especially,
you wanted it to be better last year.
Yes, it's like I can celebrate Rocky IV while also saying Rocky III sucked. You can say both and have and still celebrate the Rocky series. But that's neither here nor there. We got a lot to get into.
Just don't bring up Rocky V, and we'll be okay.
There's a lot of Rocky sequels we don't need to discuss, okay?
By the way, hi, I'm Mike Leslie. He's Andrew Cely. We breezed right past that part, but welcome to the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. Let's start it up.
Yeah, let's try and get in back on the rails here with what's on the show.
Here's What's on the Show, sponsored by NFM.
It is college basketball's time in the sun. The TCU women are trying to wrap things up right now as we speak. We've got instant reaction on a great game against Washington. We'll break down their second straight tournament appearance. Oh, by the way, the Longhorns are still alive in both the men's and women's brackets. And we ask, which is more likely, with a look at trends in college sports? And this is talking about what Mike is trying to hint at earlier in the show. Again, we will talk about all of that here in a little bit. But before we introduce our guest, because we got a lot of moving parts tonight, let's get into a Horned Frog discussion. Let's start with there, because the game has been pretty spectacular, Mike. And I think the best way to put it is this thing felt like the West Virginia Big 12 championship game. Best players, or at least one of your best players in foul trouble. You're playing from behind the majority of the game. The difference is they got over the hump and forced overtime. What's been your biggest takeaway so far?
Yeah, I think where it all kind of started, and it's still ongoing right now, TCU with a 58-51 lead in overtime on West Virginia. You're probably watching it. We're watching it. It's right there off camera. We're keeping tabs on this thing as well. TCU has started OT marvelously.
Yeah.
But they needed to make a comeback here, and it started for me with a foul call against Olivia Miles. It was a 50-50 ball underneath West Virginia's hoop. Miles got bumped off the ball. She bumped the West Virginia player off the ball. Looked like two players just going for a loose basketball. Really should have been a no call. Miles was fired up about the foul call, and they were talking about it on the broadcast, in fact, where this was going to go, how she was going to respond to the moment. Would it energize her? Would it lead her to excel down the stretch, or would it derail her? It led her to excel. She created for TCU the balance of the basketball game, created the final bucket that led to them taking the lead in the waning seconds, with Clara Silva scoring on a bucket that you saw. We were still doing sports special at that point. I didn't even see the bucket, but I know that Miles set it up. There's a lot going on tonight with the game happening currently. By the way, now 58-54. Terrific comeback from TCU to force OT, and now they are in OT right now in a game that just got a whole lot closer now, 58-57.
I just want to say it is a plague upon society, and I mean no disrespect to Damian Lillard, to Luka Doncic, to all these guys that have hit incredible shots. But step-back threes as the clock expires is not a good shot. I'm with Paul George on this one. Drive to the basket, make something happen, draw a foul, especially late in the game that's been as physical as this one. You want to get some action at that point and force the defense to stop you. I was a little disappointed by the end of regulation, not just because we can't have a final score on the show right now. So there's a little bit of mixed right there too.
We've got a chance to have a final score on this show at some point in this half an hour, 60-57 right now the score. We will come back to TCU in Washington in a moment. Let's let that finish, and in the meantime, let's talk about the Texas women, because they were also fantastic today in a completely different sense, obliterating Oregon. And speaking of moving parts, we will have Cory Mose from our sister station down in Austin, KVUE, joining us in a moment to talk about not just the Texas women, but also the Texas men that are on to the Sweet 16 as well. But let's start with the women, because Madison Booker absolutely went nuclear today. A 40 ball on Oregon. She herself very nearly outscored Oregon. They had 58 as a team. She was exceptional.
Yeah, that's kind of an understatement. You see 40 on the stat sheet, you see 100 on the scoreboard. And again, some of these women's scores get a little lopsided, but it's rare you see triple digits, especially in the second round, let alone the first. But where Booker's concerned, there's no facet of her game that feels like a weakness. And also, as much as she carries the load, that team is loaded across the board. They've got dynamic energy all the way around. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, we have our guest coming up, or no? Am I getting ahead of myself here? Okay,
Not
never
yet.
mind.
Cory will be here soon.
I ended up getting ahead of myself, just like I thought TCU would be over by now. Anyway, no, but the Texas women as a whole, really what put them on the map was the South Carolina game. I mean, as good as they've been in recent memory, them beating South Carolina in the SEC championship was like, okay, we got a different team going into this, and it's nice to see them continue with that energy, and they're just like a freight train right now, Mike.
Yeah, no, they have a very real chance to win a national championship this year. They're that good. Now, yes, there's South Carolina out there. Yes, there's UConn out there that is the boogeyman for everybody.
And LSU, who put up a number
no
today.
No kidding. Whew. Goodness. LSU, I'm sorry, Texas Tech fans. Good night. Wow. They were motivated. Flau'jae Johnson's final game at the PMAC, they were fired up for that game. There's a lot of factors that went into that, but holy smokes, LSU looked like a buzzsaw today. So yeah, there's challenges still out there waiting for Texas, but this team is really, really good. And when you've got a player like Madison Booker that on any given night can be the best player in any gymnasium she's in, they're a team that can win a national championship, especially if they can do like they did today. They were 8 of 12 from three-point range today. They are a team that does not shoot a high volume of threes, does not make a high volume of threes. But if they can introduce a little, just sprinkle that in a little more than they do currently, that makes them, that's lighter fluid on an already really, really good basketball team. They're a team that can win a championship.
Yeah, absolutely. Mike, our guest is ready, but we got to get a break and get everything set up.
Cory Mose. How about this for a tease? Cory Mose is coming up next on the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show.
Stay with us.
Today's headlines, sponsored by your North Texas Chevy dealers.
The Dallas Stars miss out on a chance to clinch a playoff berth on their own terms tonight in a hard-fought 3-2 loss to the Vegas Golden Knights at home. But what a night for Wyatt Johnston. At 22 years old, he sets the single-season franchise record for power play goals with his 23rd on the year. Dallas will next host the Devils on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Your friendly reminder that hockey is also going on. Anyway.
They just clinched, by the way.
They did.
That just happened in like the last 10 minutes. The Stars are officially playoff bound.
How about that? Great timing. Everything happening right now. It's just how things are going.
Truly, including the addition of one Cory Mose joining us from our sister station KVUE down in Austin. Cory, I know you've been keeping close tabs on both of these Texas programs as they've made their run into the NCAA tournament. We were talking heavily about the women's program before you joined in, and obviously talking about the performance of Madison Booker today. Ooh. I'm curious your perspective on the player she is, the player she continues to become, how much not being SEC Player of the Year has motivated her. She looked possessed today.
Yeah, and I had a front row seat, thank God. I was in the building in the Moody Center, and you just tell from tip-off, she was getting to her spots, and they were calling plays for her the moment the game started. She had 14 points by the end of the first quarter. Mind you, her career high is 31. And so she was already halfway there after the first quarter, and so you could just tell that was the game plan. I think the reason why is because on Friday night, she didn't really have a good game, to be honest. She didn't shoot well at all, and so it felt like this was her get-back when it comes to the last game in the Moody Center, and boy, did she get it back. 40-piece, no nuggets, and like you said, just the person that she is, right? She's an awesome person. I was able to talk to her after the game one-on-one, and she was just speaking about how her teammates were setting her up in great spots to shoot the ball, and she's right. Roy Harmon, her final night in the Moody Center, by the way, another Longhorn legend, ended her career in Austin, and so that is something that Madison always talks about looking up to Rory, but now you can see that this team is kind of becoming Madison's team. And now these recruits that are coming in, mind you, 3 All-Americans have all come in because they want to play with Madison. And I think that's been cool to see over the last couple of months.
Yeah, we also got to talk about the men's team because I think that the run that they've been on the last couple days, really, it's kind of tough to rationalize that. But 3 games in 5 days, and all of a sudden here they are back in the Sweet 16. What's impressed you most about this run?
It's the defense. We already knew this offense was going to be a top 10 offense coming into the year because of Sean Miller's scheme, because you got guys coming back like Tremont Mark and Jordan Pope. But this defense has been so lackluster. I know you've heard multiple Sean Miller sound bites about we just want to foul everybody on jump shots. And so coming into the NCAA tournament, they were top 10 in offense and in the bottom 15 in defensive efficiency. And so the question was, can they just outscore people? But now that's not the question because they're able to hold guys underneath 75 points in the last 3 matchups. And that's something that if you can do that with this offense, you see what happens. You can make it to the Sweet 16. So the offense was always there. It's just could they get stops? And now they're finally getting stops, and you see the result of that.
This is also, to me, a stark example of the impact of a guy like Sean Miller. This is why you go hire a coach like Sean Miller that has experience in March Madness, knows what it means to win big games in this tournament. I know he hasn't been to a Final Four, but he's done everything except get to a Final Four in his career. He's had a very, very good career. Xavier, Arizona, back to Xavier, now here at UT, and it takes him all of about 16 minutes to have Texas moving on to the regional semifinals. This is a team, he talked about this after the game last night, that he felt like they took a while to gel. They took a while to come together. A bunch of guys, he said, we basically didn't know each other at all coming into this season. And that's not abnormal in the current college landscape, obviously, but they have come together, obviously, now at this point and played some really good basketball over the last 5 days. As they now push forward into the Sweet 16, what do you think is the most important element for Sean Miller's team if they're going to keep this going now against a really good Purdue team?
There's a couple points that comes to mind. One, limit the turnovers like they've been doing. I believe they only had 7 turnovers last night against Gonzaga. If you can not give up easy buckets in transition, that's something that they can get back on defense and set their defense up has helped them out a lot so far in this tournament. The other thing, of course, Matas Vokatitis. After the game last night, he was asked about his performance against Graham Ike, mind you, an All-American from Gonzaga. Vokatitis had 17 points and 9 rebounds. The game before against BYU, 23 points and 16 rebounds. This dude has been playing out of his mind. And so if he continues to play like the best big man in the country, which he said he thinks he is last night, he said that on record. If he continues to play like that, this team can go as far as that he takes them, because you also have the spark plugs in Jordan Pope, the clutch shot making in Tremont Mark, and the guy that came over from Xavier with Sean Miller and Dalen Swain, who leads the Longhorns in nearly every category. They have so many weapons to beat you from offensively. Can you not turn the ball over, and can you continue to have Vokatitis play at this high of a level, especially defensively inside the paint? That is going to be the key to making it to the Final Four.
Yeah, I was posting just before Texas's game in the first 4 that people who didn't know the name Dalen Swain would get to know it over the course of, and I thought, I didn't see this week coming, obviously, for Texas, but I thought he was going to have a more profound impact in the NC State game. He wasn't a huge factor in that one, but we've obviously seen him make his impact over the course of the games this weekend. What, when you think of the performance, the game that he has in general, what impresses you most about Swain, and how do you think they can work the offense through him as they get into the Sweet 16 and certainly they hope the Elite 8?
I'm not gonna lie, I like Swain a lot. I'm a big Swain guy. Just following him throughout this whole season. He was projected as a 2nd-round pick to start the year, but you see him slowly moving up the mock drafts. Now he's like late 1st round because he's a big wing that does everything. And now, when I said earlier, he leads Texas in every category, I'm being dead serious. Points, rebounds, assists, steals, he does it all. And so him being able to do that at 6'8", 6'9", is so cool to see because he plays at his own pace. He doesn't rush things. He's gotten a lot more strong. He got stronger over the last offseason, gaining about 10 to 15 pounds. And so you can see that muscle as he attacks the basket. But one thing that Sean Miller really pointed out last night was that over the last 2 games, Dalen has, I believe, 14 assists and just 1 turnover. I mean, that's huge. That's huge for a guy that controls the rock and honestly controls his offense so much, because he's a guy that is kind of like the engine to everything.
Got to give the update because it just happened a moment ago. TCU a winner, 62-59 in OT. West Virginia had a 3-pointer to tie as time was expiring, and it missed off the back iron. TCU coming all the way back in the 4th quarter, and a very impressive OT. And they win it. They are moving on to the Sweet 16 for the 2nd consecutive season. Much more to come with Cory Mose after this on the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show.
And now it's time for Which is More Likely?
Welcome back to the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. Time now for Which is More Likely, a game so simple even Mike can play it. I've got an either-or scenario for our panel. They have to decide which of the 2 scenarios is more likely. Sounds simple? That's because it is. And last year, as Mike referenced already, he and I got into a bit of a row over the NCAA tournament. Last year was a dud, one of the chalkiest tournaments in NCAA history, and a lot of people, including everyone on this show multiple times last year, had think pieces breaking down why that was the case. The majority of them centered around NIL and how big-name schools now had a decided advantage over the welterweights. So here's the question. Using the relatively small sample size of the last 2 years in college basketball, which is more likely? NIL helps the biggest teams stay better and get better, or NIL helps level the playing field for all programs across the nation? I'm kind of thinking of how Indiana came up out of nothing in football, but that's obviously a different sport. Basically, which tournament is a better indicator for the future of college basketball? Corey, what do you think?
I think it's just helping the big team stay good, to be honest. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. When it comes to basketball and football, I don't know if there's a particular sport that we're going to, but there's just guys that are now willing to stay. And when you have guys that are now staying and not going to the league, whether it's NBA or NFL, and they're having an extra year, I think of Texas specifically, like a Jordan Pope. He came back. Tremont Mark could have left. He came back. And we just talked about Dalen Swain. He came back as well because he can get some bread in college. And so when you have all of these top teams that are able to provide that bread and give it to the guys that are maybe thinking about leaving, now you got guys that have been there for 4 years and know the program and, of course, know the culture, and that concludes the wins.
Mike?
I think it basically just simply helps the teams, the schools that have motivated rich people that want their programs to be good. It doesn't necessarily have to be a power conference team. It doesn't necessarily have to be a school that has established success. Indiana from a football perspective.
Right.
They had no success. But hey, Mark Cuban wants Indiana football to be good. Some of their other high-dollar boosters want Indiana football to be good. Here we go. Go get Kurt Signetti and boom, 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 national championship. It can happen that quickly if you're motivated and if you have the money. So I think it does serve to be something that levels the playing field as long as you have that money. If you're a school that doesn't tend to pump out billionaires, I'm sorry, the future of college sports may not be for you. But look at Texas Tech. Yeah. Not a traditional power in a lot of things, and all of a sudden they're really good in everything. It's for a reason, all that oil money, and here come the Red Raiders, and they're having a ton of fun with it right now. So it can be a leveling factor, but I do think that, like last year we saw it seemingly kind of kill off Cinderella. I think this year was a good rebound for Cinderella. You get High Point in there. You get Siena almost beating Duke, which was tremendous theater. This has been a more fun tournament, I think, than last year was, even though you don't have a ton of upsets. You've at least got enough.
I was going to say, that was going to be my follow-up real quick here. What makes a tournament better? Close games or just the raw upset factor? Corey, what do you look for?
Oh, close games. I want to be entertained to the final 0-0 hit the clock. Like game winners. I think that one game, I forgot who shot it. Was it Vanderbilt? Off the backboard.
Oh, yeah, the Vandy game.
Yeah, that was crazy. I just need close games. I don't even need Cinderellas.
Vandy, Nebraska, the atmosphere from the Nebraska fans in OK, they took over Oklahoma. That was unbelievable. Really, really cool to see that scene. It was Nebraska's fired up, and for good reason.
Yeah, Corey, given the day that you've had, thank you so much for joining us. Again, this is now turning into an annual call, so we hope to see you again this time next year. And hopefully the Longhorns keep everything
the way
relevant.
UT's playing, we may talk to you next week.
I was going to say, we'll see. Thanks
hey, look,
so
if I get a call from Mike, bro, I'm always going to answer. You know what I'm saying?
There you go. Thanks, Corey. We appreciate you. Mike's final take coming up next. Just another reminder, college basketball this time of year is crazy. It is one of the best weekends in sports, just for the raw amount of stuff to see. You know, like when you've got 4 screens going at once, it's nice having multi-view. I know it was we talked about that right before we came down, but just having that ability to watch 4 games simultaneously is awesome.
96 games in a 5-day span, men's and women's combined. It's awesome.
Mike's final take.
The best thing that comes of tonight is we get to see more of Olivia Miles. TCU with a 62-59 come-from-behind overtime win over Washington tonight. Olivia Miles very nearly a triple-double, 18 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists, an absolute wizard with the basketball in her hand, and she was the driving force of that comeback tonight for the Frogs. And because TCU comes back and gets that win, we get to see her don that purple uniform at least one more time, and that is a very good thing for Frogs fans and for college basketball fans alike. And then we'll see her move on to the WNBA.
We'll see her next weekend, and we'll see you next weekend on the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. See you next week.
This has been the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show, sponsored by your North Texas Chevy dealers. Together, let's drive.